note, I would like to introduce the candidate of our great party, Labour Party, Mr. Barrymore,
who's vying for
make his live broadcast
address
to State of Lagos address. Can you please welcome him?
Please welcome him.
Lagos, arise. Enough is enough. Sadly and painfully, but needlessly, Lagos is not working. Lagos is not working because there are 2 million children out of school. 2 million is more than the entire population of Nasarawa, Bayelsa, and Abuja at the last census in 2006. Yes, that could be the population of a whole state, and that is out of school in Lagos. Ikwe Dide. In 2019, a bold driver named Tommy Waziri was attacked and shot in the face at Akpobon Bridge around 8:30 p.m. He is currently visually impaired. Till today, the shooter was never found, and lawsuits that gave him an appointment for 1 week only attended to him 3 weeks later. Eventually, he had to get treated in a private hospital. Lagos happened to him. His story is all over the internet. You can go and verify. It could have happened to you or me. Ikwe Dide. A week ago, I was surrounded by Agberos who, once I engaged them, narrated how some were graduates of Unilag, some were graduates of University of Nsukka. These are vulnerable youths that their state has failed and only succeeded in bringing out the worst in them, not the best in them. A street sweeper told us that she has 4 children and spends 20,000 naira monthly on transport from Oto to her sweeping duty post in Ikoyi. Her salary is 30,000 naira per month. She's barely able to survive, even though she works very hard. Sadly, painfully, but needlessly, Lagos is not working for her and her family. Ikwe Dide. Parents have passed a vote of no confidence in public education. Only 17% of primary school students and 25% of secondary school students are in public schools. Most parents, in their determination to give their children the very best education, have opted for private education. Government not only fails to provide public education, but it also fails to adequately supervise and enforce the standards in private schools. And you know that at the time for school fees payments, everybody is tense. This is where the government is supposed to have provided succor to the public. But that's not the case. Ikwe Dide. Lagos is not working for that teacher who in frustration shouted, "I cannot kill myself. How many scripts will I mark when I'm not a machine? I have more than 85 students in one class. And we have 8 arms, which means I have about 680 students to attend to every day." In most cases, this teacher would ask the students to exchange papers and mark among themselves. Or that teacher will probably not even mark at all. Ikwe Dide. Lagos is not working. As far back as 1966, it was ranked as one of the best cities in the world. Today, it is ranked as the 2nd worst city to live in the world, just after war-torn Damascus. In El-Rufai's famous words, people that have lived in Lagos should have an automatic pass to heaven. Living in Lagos is only better than living in war. Little wonder Kaduna State, a state dealing with Boko Haram, is ranked better than Lagos for ease of doing business. And Lagos is supposed to be the commercial capital of Nigeria. Ikwe Dide. Lagos is not working for the over 2 million jobless people. Your Lagos, my Lagos, our Lagos collects the highest IGR in Nigeria, but has an unemployment rate of 37.1%, worse than the national average of 33.3%. How does this make sense? Ikwe Dide. Sadly, painfully, but needlessly, Lagos is not working because the average commuter spends over 3 hours in traffic daily after government borrowed 1.2 billion for a rail project on which they were supposed to do about 24.5 kilometers. They've only completed 13 kilometers in just about 14 years. After more than a decade, they had a president come in to cut ropes. But I assure you that no Lagosian used the blue line yesterday and no Lagosian is going to use the blue line tomorrow. Enough is enough. Eko. Sadly, painfully, but needlessly, Lagos is not working. Only 10% having access to water from Lagos Water Corporation. The only waterworks functioning is the one on Alexander Road, Ikoyi. And it rarely pumps water for more than 8 hours per day. Per week even. Per week, sorry. The people that claim to have built Lagos could drink water from their taps when they were younger. They could go to the hospital and get treated. They didn't have to fly abroad to get injection. They could drive around Lagos without fear of harassment. And look at the Lagos that they've left for us. It's enough. Eko, Edide. Dear Lagosians, sadly, painfully, but needlessly, Lagos is not working. Enough is enough. And it's time for us to rise. My name is Gbadebo Osvaivo. By the grace of God, I'm an energetic graduate of one of the best schools in the world. As an MIT graduate of architecture with urban planning experience in both the United States and China, I respectfully submit that I'm much better equipped by academic training and practical experience to set Lagos on the path of becoming a first world city by 27th of May 2057. We have long-term vision. We are not project people. We are systems people. And we believe in a future that works for all Lagosians. Since its creation on 27th of May, Lagos will be turning 90 very soon, in that time. And we want to create a Lagos that we can all be proud of at that time. I need you to give me the opportunity to be your servant as we work together to implement my vision as the architect of a new Lagos. My vision to transform Lagos is built on 7 pillars. Number 1, substantial poverty reduction through inclusivity, shared prosperity and growth of the middle class. The idea that you no longer have to know somebody to be able to do well in Lagos State. You no longer have to be politically connected to do well in Lagos State. A Lagos that will work for all because of transparency and accountability to the people of Lagos. The second pillar, we're going to push employment creation through industrialization and digital intensive transformation. We're going to focus on creating jobs for the millions of our youth and ensure we engage them in skills that will be productive. The third pillar, we're going to transform substantially our health and education, and we're going to target it at being leaders in Africa in relation to the indexes. We're going to ensure that quality of education and quality of healthcare gets in these our institutions are world-class. We're also going to ensure that we create world-class, first-class infrastructure and create a Lagos that is secure. A Lagos that can truly run 24 hours in the span of 6 years and 15 hours in the span of 4 years. But all of this is going to be built on a robust, strong local government administration that will allow for excellent governance to exist and be close to the people. We also, aside from being locally robust and locally sound, we also have regional plans. We're going to have strong regional economic integration to advance the journey towards true federalism. Lagos State will act as a catalyst. We will no longer just expand to the water, we'll start expanding and building relationships upwards. And finally, we're going to ensure we have ethical reform while seemingly championing true federalism. Lagos State sticks to a minimum wage of 30,000 naira set by the federal government, an amount which in the context of uniquely high cost of living in Lagos State amounts to a starvation wage. We need to create a living wage for people in Lagos State. We all know the realities of Lagos. It is far less than the payment capacity of Lagos. Lagos ought to lead the nation in becoming a community where a significant majority belong to the middle class. In addition to a living wage, the other important defining characteristic of the middle class is home ownership. Our manifesto has been painstakingly prepared to ensure that we have a lot of details that describe the objective, which is to allow people to be able to rise up. We want to lift people up to a proper living quality of life. And that's what we're going to create in Lagos today. The objective of this broadcast is not to go through the manifesto in detail, because this manifesto is going to be available to everybody. But it's to show in this short broadcast the critical pillars and our vision for Lagos State, not just to take Lagos where she ought to be now, but to take Lagos and position it for where she's going to be in the future. I appeal to you that on March 11th, with this background, for you to give me and trust the reins of Lagos into my hands, to deliver a Lagos that's going to work for you. So I solemnly make this covenant to achieve the following landmarks if you graciously appoint me as your servant and governor. 1, we implement a wage policy, a living wage policy for both the state civil service and the private sector. On my first working day in office, I'll issue an executive order directing the head of service to prepare a framework for increasing the minimum monthly salary of the Lagos civil service by a minimum of 100%, from 30,000 naira to 60,000 naira. Our objective is subject to resource constraints, but we are determined to ensure that people have a living wage, not a minimum wage, a living wage, before the end of our first term. I'll also direct all contract workers, including those diligent women and men who sweep our streets, to be converted to permanent staff that have the benefits that come with that. Even if they say we cannot afford it, by the time we plug all the loopholes, we are going to be able to ensure that we can make this payment. It's a worthy sacrifice to make because it has a multiplier effect. There are so many businesses that don't succeed in Lagos because people don't have that capital to be able to, they don't have that purchasing power. By increasing that purchasing power, more businesses will thrive and the state will generate a lot more taxes. We can afford it. For the entire workforce of 150,000 people in Lagos State, the significant number of new hires we need to reduce the teacher-pupil ratio. All over Lagos, you have situations where it's 1 to 60, 1 to 80. Some places 1 to 40, 1 to 60, and that needs to be plugged. And we need to hire teachers to do this. And to increase the productivity gaps, the increased cost will be between 100 billion and 200 billion annually. The unaccounted road levies appropriated by the NURTW, as they were called, without account, is over 120 billion yearly. Only God knows how much we pay the real first families through Alpha Beta, Iyaloja dues, LASA commissions, and all of these things. Meanwhile, we have students in Lagos that are sitting down on the floor. They don't have tables to do exams. Hospitals don't have beds. They don't have equipment. It is morally wrong, and that's why one of our pillars is to bring morality into governance and not create a situation where there's conflict of interest, where the governor is giving projects to people that creates a conflict of interest for Lagos State, and we are not getting the best deal. Our government is going to deliver the best deal for Lagosians. It hasn't been done because it has never been priority. Civil servants, I promise you that with me as governor, you will earn a living wage starting with a 100% increase. For the private sector, we will incentivize the private sector, particularly the organized private sector, to look into the casualization policy and to also increase their minimum wage. We'll do this by incentivizing them with tax benefits and giving them preferential status in relation to how much they are paying in the organization and how they hire products of our youth employment schemes across the state. No more will graduates remain on contract for decades on mega wages without the benefits such as health and pensions without the benefits of health and pensions. Our reviews show that this is as much in the interest of the employers as the employees. Increase of low-level wages has a significant domestic multiplier leading to economic growth and improved performance by these companies. We will incentivize companies by allowing them to retain pay taxes incidental to the wage increases as a tax relief over a period of a few years as government's partial contribution. If you are working as a contract staff in organized private sector, count on me to engage your employers until casualization and mega wages become a thing of history. I'm committed to a good quality of life for all Lagosians, informal and the formal sector. Payment of unemployment benefits of 10,000 naira monthly to 1 million unemployed graduates. We estimate that there is at least 1 million unemployed graduates in Lagos State. We will immediately commence an unemployment benefits register for unemployed graduates who are willing to retrain and acquire new skills. There is no free lunch. Our party is the Labour Party. We believe in dignity of labor. So we are not dashing out money. We are creating a social safety net for people that have accepted the idea that they are going to get new skills and new training, and we empower them by giving them something to be able to hold and survive while they get their training. We're going to ensure that profitable self-employment, every month we'll add 50,000 people to our unemployment benefits register through a transparent evaluation and balloting system. The register will be limited to a maximum of 1 million people. Each person on the register will receive a monthly stipend of 10,000 naira, and people will be eligible to remain on the register for a maximum of 36 months, or the point at which they achieve monthly income of 50,000 naira through paid self-employment, after which they cease to be on the register. We expect these to be citizens who take their civic responsibilities, including voting seriously, and are responsible members of society. Our planning has been painstaking. For 50,000 employees at 10,000 naira each will cost 500 million per month, or 6 billion per annum. By the time we reach the limit of 1 million, it will cost us 10 billion monthly and 120 billion per annum. Our annual budget is currently 1.8 trillion, and we can support that. Take my word, Lagos State will pay unemployment benefits under my watch. Not to encourage indolence, but strictly for those determined to move onto self-reliance by acquiring the needed skills to survive in a city like Lagos. The third pillar that we have and what we're going to do, home ownership. We're targeting to have 1 million owners of homes, and we'll start a private sector-led owner-occupier home scheme targeted at producing 1 million homeowners over a period of 20 years. This is feasible because it will be private sector-led. Government will provide the support and enabling environment to make mass adoption and mass delivery feasible. By the grace of God, it will be done, and you can hold me to that. Another important thing that we're going to achieve is introduction of rail transportation in Lagos State. You cannot have a mega city without mass transit and without rail. And this is the key to get rid of the traffic problems that we've been suffering in Lagos State. By delivery of a minimum of 100 kilometers of rail in a transparent manner, we'll deliver 4 new rail routes in 4 years to transform transportation for Lagosians. This will comprehensively solve and transform the state, and this will be my signature achievement for my administration should you elect me as governor of Lagos State. It will serve as a catalyst for industrialization of Lagos, and to not only carry human beings, it also carry cargo. We saw what happened the other day where a container fell on and killed children in Keke Napep, and this has happened too many times for us in Lagos State. We now need to make sure that our cargo is moving by rail, and to do this we have to provide rail infrastructure, which we're going to do. We're also going to ensure that we have a transparent system for procurement, and our policies are business friendly and industrialization focused. Government is going to pay all suppliers and counterparties within 90 days of invoice and enforce it strictly. I'm assuring all our suppliers and contractors that their invoices will be approved seamlessly. We will digitize the approval process and minimize human interface to drastically reduce corruption. My principal, His Excellency Peter Obi, did this in Anambra, and I'll follow in his footsteps. And as I make this pledge to contractors, I also demand that they will benchmark all the work they do to World Bank benchmark standards. We are going to create an open and transparent government for them. They will have no need to pay bribes, but we'll get the best deals for Lagosians for the services that they render. We will use large multi-year orders to attract establishment of industries, government expenditure will be transparent. It will be used to promote industrialization, generate local value added, and create middle-class employment. Specifically, before 100 days in office, I'll issue a guarantee for a minimum purchase of 10,000 vehicles over 10 years from any vehicle manufacturer who set up a local assembly plant in Lagos, together with component suppliers, such that value added in Lagos must not be less than 50%. In doing this, our aim is to create jobs for our many youth in Lagos State and to domicile the idea of productivity. Like my principal says, we must move from consumption to production. Post 100 days will facilitate the setting up of a rail, bus, and ferry assembly plant within the state, committing to offtake of minimum quantity annually, which will provide a base for takeoff of steel and machinery industries to for the economic benefit of Lagos and the welfare and prosperity of Lagosians. We must also introduce credit into our system. It is not normal that we have to pay our rents in 1 year, buy our cars, and pay everything automatically. This is what leads to greed and accumulation and stealing. People will be able to access single-digit business loans. We'll work with local and international banks to create a loan scheme to provide SMEs with access to capital, particularly those with potential for creating middle-class jobs. We expect that the cost of capital to be single digits. The scheme will be in trenches of 100 billion until it reaches 1 trillion. Substantial transformation of education is also part of our agenda, and we're going to target at the African continent, welcoming to lead the African continent. We're going to have public schools with quality comparable to the best private schools in the world. And we'll transform this with public and private education, whereby the best private sector education practitioners will collaborate with government so that our public schools will achieve standards comparable to the best private schools in the world. Lagos State government will also supervise private schools to make sure that we're all committed to best practice. We'll also substantially transform the health system and ensure that the health system is one that we can be proud of. Lagos State is going to be a state that will manage its waste. We waste too much waste in Lagos State, and we're going to create a system that is open, that is depoliticized, and we ensure that we get the most out of our waste. We're going to upcycle, we're going to recycle. We're going to ensure that we make the most of our waste, and Lagos State can eventually breathe again. Lagos State will no longer be a state that stinks. We want a state that we can all be proud of, and everybody will have access to waste management. We're also going to create a Lagos State where our waters are going to be dredged properly. We're creating a government that provides platforms, not building projects or white elephant projects. We're going to build platforms that people can plug into, and it's open and transparent and accessible to everybody. Our transportation system will create a truly intermodal transport system. We're going to dredge our waterways and provide data to the public so that they can understand how they can get into water transportation business. We're also going to make sure that all across the state, we can interlink it. We're going to expand the Lagos East and we're going to expand the Lagos West. Expand development in these places. From the VI section, we're going to connect it all the way down to Bejuleki on one end of Lagoon. At the other end of Lagoon, Ikodu all the way to Ekpe. We're going to create a belt road and link them with 6 bridges so that we interconnect Lagos in a firm way. Across Lagos West as well, we're going to do this as well so that we bring everybody into Lagos. And this is what you're going to benefit as if you have me as the governor of Lagos. We're going to ensure that our transportation system is working. Our waste management is working, and you truly benefit from it. Our education system is working. Our healthcare system is working. Our local governments will be run by potential governors. It will be a pipeline by which governors of the state can be elected. Our inner roads will be done, and with benchmarks to World Bank standards. And you can be rest assured that with all of this in place, you're going to have a Lagos that will work. Lagos that will work for all of you, for me, for you. We're going to have our Lagos, and that's the Lagos that I'm going to leave for you. Thank you so much.
Don't let it stop, don't let it stop. Don't let that stop. Please, I have one request. Eko Edide. Behold, architect of New Lagos. New Lagos. Thank you so very much, sir. I'm not competent enough to add to anything that's been said by JRV this evening, but we'll have the floor open for question and answers. And I would like... No, they would.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Pastor Funke Awolowo, and I'm a member of the ESCO. As he was talking, I remember many years ago, some South Africans, they came to Nigeria, and they came because they actually came to Lagos. They saw that logo that we say, Center of Excellence. And when they came, they were surprised, especially, let's just start from the airport. And because I was in the group of the people that received them, they were asking in their accent, very deep South African accent, that where is the center? They thought there was a particular building that was the Center of Excellence. And the head pastor who was in the team kept on ignoring it because he couldn't really fathom, or he didn't know how to answer it. And today, as I listened to him, the Lagos that stinks, I think they went through Alausa, the whole place was stinking and all that. And, Pastor had to explain and explain. And I want to say, behold Lagos, because really, we really need to get down to really the roots of the matter and rebuild Lagos. And I'm glad that, Badebo, you've answered all the questions, and we will live up to that name of being the center of excellence.
Thank you, Pastor Kaolawo. Please, I would like to tell us that we have 5 minutes to the end of this live broadcast, and so we'll take questions from our friends from the media. With a show of hand, please. Media. Please. I'm sorry. Introduce yourself. Be concise.
Utami Ekpeyi. I work for Agence France Presse, AFP. Your colleagues have been on the road for some time, your counterparts. That is other aspirants vying for the office. Why did it take you this long to show yourself?
Thank you.
So, in 2019, I was central candidate for the PDP. You might be aware of that. I was center for Lagos West. I did that at 35. I had the most votes in the party. Our strategy is a surge strategy. Every party has their strategy. There's a lot of work that we've been doing on the ground because a lot of our supporters have been harassed and targeted by the ruling party. You might have seen last week where one of our members was macheted on his forehead because he was just posting a poster. You might have heard about the flag boys that were nearly burnt to death at Oshodi interchange, right? So there's a lot of work that is not being publicized, but you cannot hide a pregnancy for too long. It's a time has come now where you must recognize that we are pregnant with ideas. We are pregnant with a new Lagos, and we are going to birth it by God's grace. Thank you.
1 minute.
Good evening, Mr. Rose Bible. Thank you. You elucidated so much. I just have 2 questions. One, you listed very lofty goals, ideas, and you want to push. There's one thing politicians don't tell us. How do you finance them? It's key. Secondly, one major problem we have in Lagos State is our attitude to public service. Service. Everybody believes that it's in government to make money. You may be good, you may be nice, you may want to do well, but you can't run the show alone. We need attitudinal change. We have to change our mentality about public service, not to make money. No commissioner can buy house in this Ikeja from his legitimate income. And members of your cabinet might think that being in power, you give the opportunity to buy house in Lekki. Labour Party, they give shishi, like you always say. How do you change people's attitude to public service? My name is Samuel. This day.
We'll let Jerry answer that, then we'll take 2 more questions.
No, sorry, I can't. What was this? Finance. How do we finance these things? Sorry. So, our first aim, port of call, is opening Lagos State finances, right? Publishing it. You are not going to have to look for our finances or our line-by-line items of cost and procurement. I did discuss that, right? And in doing that, we'll actually start to see the real cost of what it takes to do these projects in Lagos State. By default, since 1999, Lagos State has been doing times 4x in terms of cost, right? You're getting a ramp or a purse strings of the state. Our job, like I said, is creating platforms. We are taking out all the bottlenecks of government to allow the private sector to be able to come in. Our job is to supervise and ensure that the private sector, we create an enabling environment for the private sector so they can invest in infrastructure development. We are also part owners, but we are going to make sure, our major aim is to make sure that that value is delivered to the people of Lagos at the cheapest, most affordable price. Our commitment to that is not taking bribes and being open and transparent. The business sector and the private sector's part in that is giving us the best quality at the best possible price, right? So that's how we're going to do these things. Oh, sorry, you also asked a question about attitudinal change, right? You see, you cannot expect a leader or leaders or a group of people to get into position by buying their way in, and they will prioritize your welfare or your interest. Peter Obi saying that we know they give shishi, it's not that we don't have to give shishi, it's not that he doesn't have to give shishi, but the man that wants to keep his respect for the people and wants to work and serve the people is not going to want to pay the people. You don't go and apply for a job and pay to get employed. You understand? And that is the difference with the Labour Party. We are restoring dignity to labor. We are removing the idea of monkey they walk, baboon they chop. We are getting rid of ease of money, disrespect of money, because people have wealth without enterprise. That's what we're trying to change. That is what we're working on. And that's what we want to change. And we're coming into government with that mindset. And yes, there might be the rotten apples and rotten few, but we are determined to set this as the new normal. And God will help us with His Excellency Peter Obi in Abuja and myself in Lagos will make it a reality.
Ask your questions, then pass it on to him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wadeb. Honestly, I'm really impressed by your delivery. And my name is Chibi Kechuku from Daily Independent Newspaper, actually standing for my politics editor. Thank you very much. I'm actually particularly interested in, Lagos is about wetland and wetland around the Lekki Aja axis, where houses fall every time. I'm so particular about it because I was nearly being a victim. My twin was almost being killed because an engineer, he was doing the last building that fell there. So you may not have mentioned something. What is your plan of your government to make sure that developers and builders and engineers stick to the norms? Because given the nature, given the topography, the kind of land we have in Lekki and Aja axis. Secondly, it's only one road that leads to that particular area. And the road is not even as if it's wide. What is your plan towards making that area very, very viable, given that that is the area the state is being developed gradually? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I don't think I need a mic. Thank you so much. I'm a politician.
Please, sir.
Yes.
Please, there's a car that is blocking someone. Highlander, a wine Highlander. Please, the number is GGE 103HP. Please go repark right now. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very wonderful question, and I did not get to talk about that in my speech. There are a number of things. Obviously, time 30 minutes to talk about the problems of Lagos and our vision for Lagos is way too short. But this is one of my primary interests, especially as an architect. We're going to have and implement, because Lagos State is a very tokenist state. They do things for headlines, and then you have an impression that something has been done. Just like if you are not really aware, you really believe that somebody woke up and entered the blue line today because Buhari came and cut the tape. You understand what I'm saying? But when you look better, you know that nobody used it yesterday, nobody is using it tomorrow. So they have done a draft of a wetland protection plan, but they have not implemented it. We are going to implement a wetland protection plan. We're going to map it out. It's going to be sacrosanct to our urban development and urban regeneration plans for Lagos State. we're going to have a situation, because wetlands are natural reservoirs for water, right? And the more people feel it, the more water gets stuck in the city, right? So we're going to have wetland protection plan and enforce it, right? Because currently the agency that's in charge of it is the one giving developers the land. So that needs to be taken out. Needs to be completely dismantled. So we have a wetland protection plan. And in terms of flooding, we're going to tackle that by ensuring that we have, our primary, secondary, and tertiary drainage systems all covered, all free-flowing. They're not just going to be overgrown by weeds. We're also going to mechanize it and have it data-driven. So you see, we're not going to be operating at maximum efficiency if we don't need to. So when we know the amount of rainfall, the amount of water coming in there, that will then determine how much the engines that take the water out actually work. So wetland protection is extremely important for us, and drainage also is extremely important. We're going to look into all of that. And for people that have built on wetlands, right, we are going to be giving an option. Either they actually invest and help solve the problem of creating a proper water channel that they've taken away, or their buildings will have to be let go of, right? Because we need to restore all of that. Because you look at Lagos State, and we cannot constantly be making excuses of climate change, but you are the one using your hands to block the water that is in Lagos State, So we need to make sure that our water is flowing and water is getting out, because too many people lose too many things. If you have not been a victim of it, you will not really know the extent of loss that water can actually give to a person. So that was the first question. The second question was the one.
Yeah, please.
Oh, yes. So I expanded on that. We're going to create a belt road. That's the most efficient type of design. I explained it on this side, you're connecting VI all the way to Bejileki. On that side, Ikorodu all the way to Ekpe, and connecting them at their shortest points by bridges. If you look at London, you see the River Thames goes through it. There are over 52 bridges that are going over it, right? And that is efficient interweaving of a city, right? So that's what we are going to create on Lagos East axis, so that every community can then be expanded. When you look at Northern Foreshore upwards, there's nothing there. Right, so by doing that, we are opening up that entire axis so that we can start to make Lagos State decentralized, right? And that's really where we need to get to.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you, and I don't know if Madam Chairman will answer this. In winning the election in Lagos since 1999, it is difficult for an opposition to take on the party in power. The closest we have gotten to is winning an assembly or an House of Representative. As we speak now in Lagos State, beautiful manifestos, we'll have to look at the strategy of winning this election. I'm not aware at the very moment if your party across local government in terms of candidates for assembly, House of Representatives and Senators are intact, because if you are going to win election, if you are very serious with this election, you have to go as a team, because these are the people that will go to grassroots and work for you, for people to. So I want to know the strategies, if the team is complete, and at the moment, what is the party doing to make sure that you come out victory in the general election? Yes.
Thank you so much. First of all, I need to dispel this myth that Lagos State is run by a powerful political bloc. They are a very unpopular government. Do you understand? Less than 7% of the registered voters actually put this party in power. Lagos State is a victim of people that are not responsible people, for lack of a better word. They've not taken politics seriously. When less than 1 million people come and vote in a city of 20 million people with a voter registration base of 6 million people, right? It's not been because of any particular strength or wisdom of theirs, right? You look at 2019, I won 4 local governments because the people came out, right? So the idea is, are the people ready? We are ready, right? And what we see with the Labour Party movement is that the people are ready as well. In relation to the practical side of it, you're talking about candidates. We have all our assembly candidates. We have all our House of Rep candidates. We have our senatorial candidates. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong. We do. It's been sorted. So we're pushing ahead. Like I told you, and I've always said this in every interview, we are pursuing a surge strategy because we must balance the means and resources we have with the goal that we're trying to achieve, right? And that's what we're doing. And I'm sure you can testify that you are feeling the surge right now. So it's only going to increase. The momentum is only going to get harder. It's building up. And you can rest assured that, yes, you start seeing all our candidates campaigning, their posters up and everything. And we're already doing door-to-door, market-to-market, right? Again, I also have to admit and say to you that a lot of work that we're doing is clandestine, because we cannot afford to put our supporters in harm's way, right? We've gone to see the police. We've told them our worries, and I can see that security-wise, things are already starting to happen. So we're very confident that we're forming next government in Lagos State. I can hear you fine.
No.
Yeah.
My name is Okunbo Yotunde. I Arise TV. Two quick things. What in the minutes will the government of Mr. GRB be doing to make healthcare delivery available to all, so that whoever is waiting at the general hospital, whoever is sick and is taken to the general hospital, doesn't have to die waiting for a bed allocation. Then secondly, beyond opening up Lagos East, I stay in Alimosho mainland here. What I want to know is, in the immediate, what are you going to do to ensure that my community from one part of Lagos to the other is as easy as it can be? Then secondly, there is a 30-year, no, that's just one place. There's a 30-year development plan launched recently introduced by the current government. Will that be getting any attention from the government of your people elected in March? Thank you, sir.
Your name, sir? Please introduce yourself.
My name is Okunbo Arise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Healthcare, I thank you. I thank you for that question, because it allows me to get into healthcare as, you know, how I really ought to have gotten into it. For us, we're going to focus on primary healthcare and preventative medicine. And all of this also is tied into having a robust local government system, right? So like I keep emphasizing, we're going to have potential governors as local government chairmen. And we're going to educate the people. So it's not just about having policies, it's also about educating the people on how to properly access healthcare. So there's a process and there's a pipeline, so that when you have headache, you're not rushing to a general hospital, right? And we're also going to incorporate data-driven medicine. So from a call post where you can call and engage a doctor that this is what I'm feeling, and then they can direct you to go to the primary healthcare center that's going to be very well funded by our government. And we're going to normalize diagnostic tests, because healthcare must be data-driven, right? Diagnostic tests will become mandatory. Even as I'm running now, I've created micro health insurance for Lagosians to normalize getting diagnostic tests. And this is done in partnerships with pharmacies that are in your area, right? So we're going to also, because I wanted to test it as policy before I then get into government. So this is already being done. So we're going to include that, incorporate that micro health insurance to everybody, so everybody will have access to that. So you can get diagnostic tests done. From that point, if you cannot get treatment there, you can then be referred to the general hospital, right? So we're going to inculcate into the minds of people the pipeline for healthcare system. We're also going to focus as a government on the supply side, right? No, sorry, on the demand side of healthcare. Demand side being health insurance, bringing the private sector in, creating an enabling environment so that funds can be spent on that and quality healthcare can actually be assured. And we are also going to set up a complaints line, because another problem that we have in the healthcare in Lagos State is that there is no consequence for negligence, right? You go to a hospital, a nurse can be looking at you dying, they'll just tell you to go to your village. And everybody just carries on with life like that. And that is not acceptable. So as part of the process, there'll be a hotline that you can call, and there'll be consequences to that. There's blacklisting that's going to happen. Now, because this is tied into the local government, right, there are now consequences for these things, because local government is also supposed to be funding, right, and then people can then be held accountable, right? So these are some of the ideas that we are bringing to the healthcare system, and we're going to really prioritize funding for it. Currently, healthcare funding per capita is just over 2,000 to 3,000 naira per capita. We need to double that at a minimum. But more than anything, we need to get private healthcare delivery into Lagos State, and that's what we're going to do. I hope. And then you asked quite a number of questions. You asked about Alimosho. So, same thing. A very robust local government, right? Because Alimosho, on the outside of it, it can look like there's some roads that have been done, but on the inner roads, it's completely deplorable. The inner roads are deplorable, and the state government cannot do all those inner roads because they don't have any business doing that. They already have 46% of our roads are the state government's responsibility. About 30+% is the local government. You cannot have 80%, right, being done by the state government. It's not possible. So we need to, again, devolve these powers to the local government, ensure that they can do these roads. We'll set benchmarks for the quality that they must have and the life expectancy that they must have, and tie it into the final payment to the contractor. We'll also ensure that we're doing youth skill acquisition programs so the youth in Alimosho can be very well engaged and productive members of society. And more than anything, we need to create a feeling of safety. You see, safety and security is not seen, it is felt. I tell people that when you're in London, you don't see fences. People don't live in cages with their burglary proof, right? But nobody will tell you that you should not climb into that person's house because they know that they can see you and they will trace where you are coming from. So security is not seen, but it is felt. And that is what we need to create in Lagos State with surveillance and all of that. And in so doing, Alimosho can then become a hotbed for productivity, right? You don't have to be running to get home because you don't want to be mugged by one Agbero or the other. You understand? And businesses can thrive. And then you also asked one more question, even though you said you only asked 2 questions. What was your third question? Okay, see, listen, the Lagos State has policy that is good on paper. I'm coming to restore excellence to Lagos. So anything that is excellent, I will take and make better. But I am not going to settle for mediocrity. The 4th mainland bridge is mediocre. It does not solve the problems of Lagos. You are just creating another lane for people to be on the road for hours again, right? It's another white elephant project that we hear every 4 years when it's time for election. What we're going to do instead is that circular belt of Lagos East that I've told you about. But there are projects that, during Ambode's time, it was the first time that I saw a fire truck. It was the first time I saw the LRU, right? Emergency response was on point then. We're going to take that and improve it. Ambode also worked on trying to create an art axis in Onikon. You see J.K. Randall Center, you see the parking. We're going to expand that as well. So we're going to look at it. Where there's merit, we'll hold on to it, right? If we look at the plans for the trains, in terms of design, it's a good design because it's radial and it's spreading, right? And people will tell you that that's the best form of design. But at the same time, has that design considered carrying cargo? Right? So we're going to review that to ensure, because we can no longer have containers tipping over on our children. It's no longer acceptable. We have to do better. So thank you. I think I should just stand. I was supposed to sitting down, getting up. Maybe I should go and even stand there, like His Excellency Peter Obi.
I work with Zikoko Citizen. Zikoko Citizen. Yes. So I have, yes. And then you smile. So I have 2 questions. The first one, I've heard you talk about, you're going to make sure in the local government, those that head these places
will be a pipeline to becoming governors. I don't understand what that means. Are you saying you're going to, obviously when you win, there will be a political shift, and possibly Labour Party could take positions in all these places. Are you saying you're going to make sure the candidates of your party are going to be possible governors on the local government level, or you're going to impose candidates in that regard? So I'm a little bit confused. That's the first question. The second question is, I live in Festac. Mautu, Amuo, Apapa, that access. I didn't even have to say it. We hear, oh yes, yeah. No, I know. So my question is, I understand some of those roads are federal government projects. We had the vice president come and promise that this is going to be taken care of. The governor has done the same thing. Everybody that comes there, we will take care of this. But you cannot walk from Mautu to Apapa. You can't drive there. It's not. Do you want to die? It's not possible, because we've had issues with the port and everything. So how do you intend to solve that particular problem? I'm being selfish about this because that's where I live.
No problem.
That's what I want to know. So I've asked the questions. Thank you.
No, I'm not writing, no, please. And those were loaded questions. Okay. So your first question.
Was about the pipeline.
The pipeline.
Yes.
Sorry, the pipeline.
Oh,
Oh yes, yes. So how we're going to do it, the means by which it will be done. So Lagos State is in a state of emergency in terms of local government administration. For over 2 decades, it's been run by, just party loyalists, glorified contractors. But local government is.
Contractors are elected.
Yeah, no. I'm sure.
They are elected into office. They are not equal states. They are elected. No, excuse me. They are elected into office.
Okay. That's fine. When I say glorified contractors, I'm talking about their responsibility on the everyday basis in the local government, right? So that's what I meant. I feel that a local government chairman should be a miniature governor, right? And their responsibilities, they should really take charge of those responsibilities. Now, for too long, the culture has been that you reward loyal party men with that. They are not particularly visionaries. They are not particularly passionate about bringing development the way a governor is expected to be, right? A local government chairman is just someone that drinks at the same bar with you, drinks the same pepper soup with you, and is just one alaye that on the street. But these people are supposed to be the ones that they are closest to you. They are the closest representative of government to you. They must be excellent. They must be lifting their constituency up. So I say to my chest, we are going to headhunt the best. We're going to headhunt the best. And in headhunting the best, if I indicate that I have a preference for anybody, yes, I can indicate that and push them to the party. The party is going to have to decide, right? We'll do a primary and they'll present a candidate. But we are setting the standards, right? The standards are this and this. You must be highly educated. You must be passionate about your local government. You must live in your local government, right? You must live in your local government. That is key. So in that your first Sakamo, your local government chairman must live there. That's what I'm saying. So that's a condition. If you really want to serve the people, you cannot be far from the people, right? So you feel that pain, and that pain should drive you, right? That pain should drive your passion. So I, by God's grace, as governor of Lagos State and the leader of the party in that position, will be emphasizing that these are the qualities that our local government chairman must meet. And then you asked the second question, first stack, yes. So fortunately, the federal government has actually made significant progress on the rail line that's linking Apapa to Ebutemeta, right? They've actually done that. I have to give them kudos. So now we're looking at, and this also comes with what I said about expanding Lagos East, Lagos West, dry docks, right? And barges. The state is going to have to create an enabling environment for barges to come in. The idea is to create alternatives, routes for containers to leave Apapa. Right? That's one. With His Excellency Peter Obi being president of Nigeria, I've talked to him about this one-on-one. Sir, we need to open more ports across Nigeria. We don't want to be facing the opportunity cost all in Lagos State because it's extremely inefficient. We now have a dry, what's that called? The deep sea ports that they've built up the road. No, in Lekki, they've built up the road. We're hoping that that belt road I've talked about to also reduce that problem. But the idea is also, we just need to get these containers off our roads. So whether it is dry docking, whether it is more ports along our coast, that is the focus, right? Because the issue is, as our population increases, right, more goods are going to be imported because we are import dependent. And that's why when Peter Obi says we want to move from consumption to production, is extremely important. 8 out of 10 containers that come to Lagos leave empty. And that's why there's so much traffic. A container comes in, it offloads. Normally, it should go and pick up another amount of goods and head back to the port. That's not the case. It offloads and is going back to the port. So there's no time lag. And these are things that we must change as a society and as a state, right? We're going to use the comparative advantage that we have of being close to the ports to make Lagos State the home of packaging, right? Processing and exports, right? So in doing that, we'll be able to also solve some of these problems as well.
Hello.
Go ahead, I can hear your voice.
Hi, my name is Okpayemi Raza Koyadiro from Culture Custodian. I'd like to speak to you about how inclusive your government means to be to people living with disabilities. Because I think in Nigeria, we think of people living with disabilities when we make policies or we make, plans for them. It's always in a very, very welfare and charity based point of view. And it's very, very crazy because the way they live in Nigeria right now is they are treated like below human. And particularly with women and children because they are more vulnerable. Healthcare system, even the law enforcement officers, I don't think they have the required training when it comes to treating people living with disabilities, the sensitivity required. Women who live and suffer with gender-based and sexual violence cannot report properly because they don't have proper healthcare, hotlines. And the ones that can, because most people or most women who are disabled who are living with these things also live below the poverty line. So they don't have access to cell phones. They don't have access to hot meals. They don't have access to speak to people who would help them and not think of them as something to be pitied and just to be given handouts. So do you have plans for this? Because I think most of the laws and policies we have in Nigeria are very, very cosmetic. They're very, very surface-based. They just think of giving them handouts. They do a little outreach. They give people money. They put them on TV. We see people in wheelchairs carrying banners and just doing campaigns for people. And by the time campaigns are over and the government gets in place, nothing. It's just silence on all corners. So do you have any plans for people? You mentioned climate change and flooding. Imagine what somebody who lives with disability, who is also homeless, has to live through when there is flooding. When, people who are even fully able-bodied can get access to jobs and they're still living below. Exactly, thank you. So do you have any plans in place for this kind of people?
For us, again, we're going to, for me, the government must collect data so they can plan properly and make sure that every proposal and every plan that they have carries people with disabilities or people that are differently abled along, right? And that's one of the things we are going to do. For us, the most important thing is to give them access and responsiveness, right? And also train the staff of government that are the people that are interacting, representing the government on how to interact with people living with disabilities and also ensure that they are open. Government is open to them. I like the idea that I talked about people dealing with domestic violence, right? This is something that is very important to me, right? And it's something that we're going to ensure that people have access to. But this can only come with interaction and engagement. So we'll set up units in each local government that will be their sole focus. In that local government, we have a registry of people that are living with disabilities. We have a registry of people that have been recently widowed. We have a registry of people that have been recently divorced. Because our government is not a socialist state, but we are creating a social welfare net, right? To ensure that people that need to be engaged in a different way will be that will happen. So from sports to government to education, there will be allowances made for people with disabilities. But the most important idea to me is that they can engage and they know about these government policies. Because if there's no engagement like that, they will never even know about the things that we have in store for them. We can still talk, don't worry.
But please, I would like to also announce that there's another car that is blocking somebody. It's a Toyota Corolla. It's black in color. JJJ 810. Okay.
So, Mr. Badibo, this question goes to you, Engineer Badibo.
Architect.
Yeah, sorry, Badibo. You make mention of the fact that in some of your interviews and town hall meetings and debates that you have attended, you've really heavy on the fact that you want to erase Togri away from Lagos State.
Yes.
And it gives me that image because I'm an Ibadan boy, born and bred. And it gives me the image of Baba Adedibu when he was there. And there are some set of people that came up and said, we don't like Togri and all these things done by those boys that when they are high on drugs, you know what they can do. We knew what the outcome was from people. I'm talking about 2002, 2003, 4. So
what was the outcome? Some people don't know.
Okay, the outcome was it was a bloody thing in the whole of Malete Challenge, Dugbe, and the like, secretariats, everywhere we go. So my question is, how do you plan on implementing a peaceful, shift away from the Togri life that Lagos is known to be? What steps do you think you would take that would be a peaceful one? Then why have you always mentioned that fact that you would like to move away the system of Togri away from?
Okay, so thank you so much for that. Lagos State, you said you're an Ibadan boy. You said you're an Ibadan boy. I cannot speak for Ibadan, but I can speak for Lagos. My great grandfather lived here. We didn't have Agberos in his time, right? We're a highly civilized, highly cultured group of people in Lagos State. And it's interesting that at the last debate, I stood next to a progeny of Doherty. I was there. The person in the middle was sort of out of place. But when you look at these two, their great-grandfathers were first legislative house together in this Lagos State. So it's quite interesting that history brings us back together again. But I say all that to say this, that when I talk to these Agberos that we call people, Apple Junction, Alimosho, VI was the most recent one. Because every time they come and meet me, they've seen a politician, but I always ask them, if I bring work for you, would you do it? Because there's an idea that they don't want to work, that they are lazy. They just want to be high and just chasing people and harassing people. And I promise you, every time I'm waiting for the day that would be different. But every time that voice just goes away, immediately they become sober. The last time in VI, it happened to me. The guy said he's a graduate of Unilag, Art Science Department. I have a video. If you check my Twitter, I can go and verify. You say I'm copying my principal. The video is there because when my sister was there, when he said it, I said no. Because I always tell people this, but nobody seems to believe me. I said you must record this moment. A graduate of university. The guy next to him, economics, graduate of University of Nsukka, right? And they were all saying the same thing. They want work. A lot of these young men are vulnerable youth. They are not bad people by nature. They've just adapted to be able to make a living. Because that's the only way they can survive. You think all those guys in Mushin just happen to have the same voice because that's normal? No. It's because it seems like that's the only voice that can allow people to take them seriously. And they create that voice. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Take them out of that environment, then you see their real voice. Right? So they are victims of circumstance. So they are victims of circumstance. They are people's children, they are people's brothers, they are people's fathers. One guy there was telling me he has 3 children. Do you think he's happy to be standing on the street like this? Now, I'm not saying that all of these people we are talking about fit into this mold. Right? That's not what I'm saying. But there is a significant amount of them that want to be productive and want to make something of their life. Then there are others that vulnerable aspect has been tuned into violence. Right? And for those people that do not want to get into a productive stream and are looking for easy money or how they can rob people or take advantage of people, of citizens of Lagos, residents of Lagos, then as government, we are going to come after them with full force. They are going to give in an option as stakeholders to learn new skills, to become employable at the local government level. And we are going to incentivize companies to be able to hire them and reduce their taxes based on their hiring and give them preferential treatment in bid allocations if they are going to hire products of these programs that we've done. Now, for those that insist that they want to be harming residents of Lagos, they want to continue living that life, then they are going to have to face the full force of the law. It's just that simple.
And that wraps it up for the question and answer session. I would like to call on the Labour Party State Secretary to give us vote of thanks, and then we end. Thank you very much.
Incoming Governor of Lagos State.
Amen.
My distinguished chairman of the party, other ESCO members who are present, and our dear friends, the members of the 4th Estate of the Realm. We are really, really happy to have you here with us this evening. You've listened to the message of hope, the message that a new Lagos is possible. We are happy and we want you to take this message to the nooks and crannies of the city. That come May 29, 2023, these things will become realities. It is a promise, and the man that has made the promise is credible enough to fulfill those promises. We can't thank you enough. We ask you continue to partner with us. This is the beginning. In the next couple of weeks, I hope we'll be having more engagements like this for the benefit of the larger society, Lagos in particular, Nigeria in general, as Labour Party is poised to bring a bit of fresh air into the country. We thank you. We say may God continue to keep you, bless your families, continue to guide you in your career, that together we will all live to celebrate New Nigeria come May 29, 2023. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Nothing more to add. I can only say that in the coming weeks and days, would have much of these engagements. I thank my friends from the media. I thank you for your questions. I thank you for your answers, because in asking those questions, some of you actually gave us some insight to some answers. Thank you so very much. And I'd like to say that is like that going forward from here on, please feel free to contact us for more clarifications. If you hear things out there, you want answers, we're open to your questions. We'll try and shed light as much as possible. You've been wonderful, you've been very good. You've proven to be excellent Lagosians, and we thank you and we wish you a good night, a happy night rest as you go back to your homes. My name is Bumi Odesoya. I am the Publicity Secretary for Labour Party in Lagos State. Thank you, guys. We'll take the national anthem as we close. Oh, compatriots,
Nigeria's call obey.